Nobody has ever been born in space. Not once, which is kind of insane considering we're already planning cities on Mars. Like millions of people living there permanently. But there's one problem nobody really talks about. What happens when someone gets pregnant? Because there's a very real possibility that it just doesn't work. And if that's true, then a Mars colony can never be self-sustaining. We love the idea of Mars. Elon Musk talks about 1 million people there by 2050. Reusable rockets, habitats, terraforming, all of it sounds like engineering problems. Hard, but solvable. And honestly, we're making progress. But biology doesn't care about your timeline. So scientists started asking the obvious question: can mammals reproduce in space? And yeah, we've tried some experiments. China, for example, has been running biological studies in their space station, using mice, because mice are kind of our go-to for testing human biology. And the results are mixed. Some mice that spent time in space came back to Earth and later had completely normal babies, which sounds like good news. Like, okay, space didn't permanently break anything. But here's the detail people skip: they gave birth on Earth. No mammal has ever carried a full pregnancy in space. 0. Not a single one. And this is where things start getting weird. Because pregnancy isn't just baby grows. There's a whole setup phase. When a fertilized egg reaches the uterus, the body basically rebuilds part of itself to support it. The lining of the uterus changes. Blood flow increases. Hormones shift. It's like preparing a landing zone. Everything has to be just right. And in microgravity, that system starts acting strange. Cells don't communicate the same way. Genes behave differently. Even fluid in your body doesn't move the way it should, which is not great. Because if that setup fails, the embryo can't properly attach. And that usually means the pregnancy ends early. And that's before we even talk about long-term development. Now, okay, Mars isn't zero gravity, so maybe that fixes it. Mars has about 38% of Earth's gravity, which sounds decent, like not floating anymore. But here's the problem. We have no idea what the minimum safe gravity is for human pregnancy. Is 50% enough? Is 80% enough? Is Earth the only level where this works properly? We genuinely don't know. Because a fetus isn't just growing on autopilot, it's reacting to everything around it. And gravity? That's a big one. It affects your bones, how blood moves, your balance system, even parts of your brain, which is kind of wild when you think about a T.SO at 38%. Some of those signals might be weaker or missing completely. And we've never seen what a full human development looks like in that environment. Like, imagine being born in a world where gravity is always lower. Your entire body might develop differently. And gravity isn't even the only issue. Mars has another problem: radiation. On Earth, we're protected by a magnetic field. Mars doesn't really have that anymore. So the surface gets hit with way more cosmic radiation, about 2 to 3 times more than Earth, which for adults is already risky. But for a developing fetus, that's a completely different level. Radiation can damage DNA, and during development, that's when cells are dividing rapidly, which means mistakes multiply fast. So now you've got low gravity plus higher radiation at the most sensitive stage of human life. So what do? Engineers have an answer: artificial gravity. You build a giant rotating structure. It spins, and that creates a force that feels like gravity, which honestly sounds like sci-fi, but the physics checks out. The problem is the scale. To feel like Earth, that structure has to be huge, like kilometers wide. We're talking about one of the largest things humans would ever build. And here's where it hits. If we need that just to have healthy babies, then Mars colonies aren't simple anymore. Because eventually, someone has to test this. A real pregnancy, in partial gravity, in higher radiation. And the one taking the biggest risk is the child. Someone who didn't choose it, didn't sign up for it. We'd be running an experiment in a human life without knowing the outcome. And yeah, that's where things get uncomfortable. Because space agencies talk about Mars. Timelines, missions, colonies. But almost nobody talks about this part seriously. So yeah, the challenge of Mars isn't just getting there. It's building a future there, a real one. Because a colony isn't real until the next generation exists. And right now, we don't actually know how to make that happen. So next time you see a rocket launch, just remember, we still don't know if humans can be born out there. If you're into the side of space that people don't usually talk about, the weird problems, the uncomfortable questions, that's basically this channel.